It's January 13th, 2009. The Orlando Magic are on a West Coast road trip playing against the Sacramento Kings. Dick Bavetta's on the officiating crew, and the Kings start out the game by aggressively blitzing the Magic's ball screens. It's a popular defensive coverage in the NBA at the time, but it doesn't work too well tonight, to say the least. The Magic spread the court against the Kings' blitzes and let it fly from three-point land like normal. Eventually, in the fourth quarter, they do something that no team has ever done in an NBA game.
Richardson. There it is, the NBA record for most threes in a game. The Orlando Magic are all alone in the record books. 22 three-pointers.
They finished the game with 23 three-pointers, a record that would remain intact for 7 years before the Rockets hit 24 in 2016. The 09 Magic were one of the innovators to what would become the three-point revolution. Now in 2022, we barely bat an eye when a team hits 23 threes. It happened 21 times last season alone. But in 2009, head coach Stan Van Gundy and the Magic showed what was possible if you spread the court with 4 shooters around one dominant inside threat. Not only did Orlando lead the league in threes, they advanced all the way to the NBA Finals in the process, knocking off the defending champion Celtics and LeBron's Cavs before falling to the Lakers. The Magic consistently stretched defenses to their limits. Watch Kirk Heinrich's movement on this play. He's forced back and forth. Help on the post, recover out of the lane. Help on the post again, recover out of the lane again. Until he just finally loses his man altogether. In this video, I'll show you more examples of the Magic breaking opposing defenses, and just why they were a team so ahead of its time. This is a list of the starting power forwards and centers during the 2009 Eastern Conference playoffs. So for example, our team of note, the Orlando Magic, started Rashard Lewis at the 4 and Dwight Howard at the 5. The number in parentheses is how many threes that player made during the regular season. Right off the bat, you can see that three-point shooting centers were virtually non-existent in 09. Zydrunas Ilgauskas was the only center on the list to make a shot from behind the arc. But even among the power forwards, Rashard Lewis and Rasheed Wallace were the only 2 players above the 100 mark. Instead, most teams had 2 non-shooting bigs in the starting lineup. Even the Magic actually only started Lewis at the power forward position by accident. Stan Van Gundy told The Athletic, "If Tony Battie had never gotten hurt, we would have been like everybody else at the time and been playing a stretch 4 for only parts of the game and when we got behind late." In fact, when the Magic initially signed Lewis to a contract, it was under the condition he would play small forward. But after that injury to Battie, he agreed to make the switch for the team's sake. That move would then unlock the Magic's offensive spacing, and it forced defenders not normally used to guarding out on the perimeter to come all the way out there. While playing the 4, Lewis led the entire NBA in catch and shoot threes, even ahead of Ray Allen, one of the greatest shooters of all time. As a team, the Magic led the league in catch and shoot threes as well. The only other team even close by was Mike D'Antoni's Knicks. And on top of their high volume, Orlando shot 39% on these attempts. So clearly, you can see where the Magic excelled statistically in a league that was still mostly playing old school basketball. But now let's take a look at the film and X's and O's as to how Orlando accomplished those statistics. In order to show you why the Magic were unique, we first have to see what a more typical NBA offense looked like in 09. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the Magic matched up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron and company had the best record in the league that season at 66-16. They were 4th in the league in points per possession, and they did it all with offensive spacing that kinda makes you cringe now looking back on it 13 years later. With Ilgauskas and Varejao in the starting lineup, the Cavs had 2 bigs roaming in and around the paint. On drives to the basket, that spacing allowed the Magic to clog the paint if the ball got in there. Screenshots like this, with 2 or 3 defenders surrounding a drive, were common during the series. On the other hand, the Magic's 4-out 1-in spacing made it very difficult for the Cavs to help on Dwight Howard while also still being able to defend the three-point line. Here the Cavs commit to a double team and you can see the spacing at work, with 4 swing passes leading to a corner 3. When opponents did double team Howard, the Magic would usually cut a weak side player to the basket to collapse the defense. Here Deng goes to double, Turkoglu follows behind him with a cut, and that sets off a chain reaction. Ben Gordon collapses on the cut, eventually forcing the Bulls to leave the corner wide open. The cut sucks in the defense towards the paint, and Dwight makes the skip pass out to the open shooter. With defenses so focused on Dwight, sometimes the ball didn't even need to go into the post in the first place. Watch how the mere thought of JJ Redick entering the ball into the post creates a wide open 3 for Rashard Lewis. Here it's Dwayne Wade that tries to read the ball going into Dwight, only to set off another chain reaction for a Rafer Alston 3. During the regular season, the Magic shot 49% on threes that came directly from a Dwight Howard post-up. They were at their best when playing inside out, drawing the help defense into the paint, then swinging the ball to the open man. All of that success shooting the ball then in turn gave Dwight more room to operate inside. He had success during the Cleveland series in going right at Ilgauskas and Varejao if the Cavs didn't send a double team. So it's one big cycle. The better the Magic shot from 3, the less help the defense gave on Dwight. Then the less help the defense gave inside, the better Dwight scored, opening up the 3 ball again. My favorite part of the Magic's 4-out 1-in style was a little trick from Hedo Turkoglu and Dwight. When Hedo went to enter the ball into the post, Dwight would sense the moment and spin off of his man for a potential alley-oop pass. Overall, I found 35 spin-out alley-oops for Dwight during just the regular season, and by my count, 29 of them were with Hedo as the passer. Those two guys had fantastic chemistry together. They also got the lob twice during Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs. This is the opening tip from the Magic's very first playoff game against the 76ers. They ran a set that ultimately got Hedo Turkoglu in a spread ball screen. Notice how Rafer Alston catches the ball with one hand and his back to the basket. Unless there's a major defensive breakdown, players don't normally catch the ball like this and still have time to turn back around, get on balance, and take a 3. But because Andre Miller is tagging Dwight Howard, that's exactly what happens. A tag is the terminology used for helping on the roller during ball screen defense. When a defense chooses to give help on the ball handler, it temporarily leaves the roller open. So as a result, someone then must be assigned to tagging the roll, literally touching the offensive player and giving their teammate enough time to recover back to even. If we go back to the previous play, the problem was Miller just held his tag too long. He needed to trust that Dalembert was going to recover back to Dwight and take away the shot from Alston instead. This play is the opposite. Iguodala tags Dwight here, but he releases too early, opening up the roll to the basket. You can see Elton Brand is mad at Iguodala for not giving him enough time to recover, but Iguodala just points out to the perimeter, as if to say, what do you want me to do? I'm trying not to give up a wide open 3 here. That dynamic is exactly what makes defending the pick and roll so hard. Hold the tag too long and you give up a 3. Don't hold it long enough and you give up a dunk. Here the Cavs essentially just try to zone up against the roll instead of having a designated tagger. LeBron and Mo Williams are both splitting the difference between their men and Dwight. But Hedo takes advantage of that by throwing a beautiful lob pass over the top of the defense, floating the ball in for Dwight to draw a foul. Turkoglu was especially good at being patient in pick and roll situations for the Magic. It doesn't look like the roll is open at all here, but just an extra second of patience against the tag can make all the difference. Shake action is an offensive concept the Magic use to beat the tag. Normally, this would be the defensive player to tag the roll here, so the offensive player shakes up from the corner, forcing the tagger into an even more difficult situation. Here it's JJ Redick shaking up as the ball screen is occurring, leading to an open 3. By shaking up, the Magic increased the amount of space the tagger needed to cover. It was an especially deadly action when Rashard Lewis was involved. Here he gets a wide open three while the defense is sucked in on the roll. Opposing power forwards just weren't used to having to defend a stretch four like Lewis. Usually players like Kevin Garnett or Thaddeus Young or Udonis Haslem could hold their tags for as long as necessary and then recover back to their non-3-point shooting opponent, but not with the Magic. Their roster and scheme were built for beating the tag. Everything I'm describing here is one of the main reasons we now see so much switching in today's NBA. It's just plain hard to get away with conventional pick and roll tags when everyone on the perimeter can shoot the three. But back in 2009, switching wasn't really an option for most teams yet. Defenses weren't used to game planning and strategizing against spread ball screen offenses like the Magic because those types of offenses didn't really exist at the time. So yes, the Magic were ahead of their time. Their great playoff run ended in the finals with a loss to the Lakers, but in the process, they foreshadowed where the league was headed tactically, serving as one of the pioneers for modern basketball. Thank you very much for watching, and thanks for all the recent support of the channel. We've added almost 9,000 subscribers in the last 28 days. A reminder that hitting those like and subscribe buttons are always much appreciated. I'll see you in the next one.